there. This video is going to be on one amount as a percentage of another, or one number as a percentage of another. Just as a quick warm-up, have a go at filling in the blanks here. Pause the video if you need more time. I'm going to show you the answers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so first thing you're going to notice here is there's 10 equal steps as we go along between 0 and 1. So that means each step is worth 0.1. So if this is 0.1, that's going to be 1/10. We've got 2, 3, so that's going to be 0.3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is 0.8, which is the same as 8/10. However, our fraction is out of 20, so you can see we're going to multiply the top and bottom, the numerator and denominator, by 2. So that's going to give you 16 over 20. And then here you can see we're actually at about 0.95, which is 95 over 100. Okay, let's get started with one number as a percentage of another. So here's an example of where you might use this, test results. So if you get 4 out of 20, you want to know what percent you've got. Remember, percent means out of 100. So if you want something to be out of 100, we're going to need to change this into an equivalent fraction. So here we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 5 to get 20 over 100. So Cassie got 20%. And now we want you to try this example on the right. What percent did Eden get in this test? Okay, pause the video if you need more time. So first of all, we're going to write it as 17 over 20. And actually, because it's the same denominator, we're going to multiply both the numerator and denominator by 5 again. So this is going to be over 100. That's what we want to get to. And 17 times 5 is going to give us 85, which is 85%. Okay, next example here. So let's say this time the test was out of 50 rather than 20. What percent did Casey get this time? Well, 25 over 50 is equal to 50 over 100, and then straight away we can see that's going to be 50%. Okay, next 2 examples. Have a go with both of these and then we're going to show you the answer. Okay, so here we can see the next question, 45 over 50, which is equal to 90 over 100, which is 90%. And then the last one, we got 13 out of 50 times 2 over 2, which is 26 over 100, which is 26%. So the key thing to remember is that's 50%, that's 50%, that's 50%. So in all these cases, we are representing these in the same way. So what happens if the test is out of something else? So this time, the test is out of 80 marks. So have a go with the first one, and then try the next 2 and see what you find with these. Okay, so I hope you've had a go with these. We're going to now work them out. So 40 over 80 should be immediately obvious. We know that that's equal to a half, which is 50%. Now we want to make these out of 100. So really, how do you get from 40 over 80 to something out of 100? So if you want to show you're working out, and this is important for the harder questions, just to have this skill consolidated, well, we can simplify this down to a half, and then we scale it up. So times 50, which is 50 over 100, which is 50%. Question 2, we're going to have to do a similar approach. So we know we've got 60 over 80. The problem is 80 doesn't go exactly into 100, so we're going to simplify this fraction partially, sometimes fully. So in this case, let's divide it down so it's out of 20. So this is the same as 20 times 3 over 20 times 4. There are other ways to do this. We're just going to flow this way. So if 20s cancel out, now 3 over 4, if we can scale this back up again, we can multiply it by 25 over 25. So that gives us 75 over 100. And that means this is 75%. So the key skill you're learning here is finding a way to make the denominator 100. And 16 over 80, let's do that down here, 16 over 80. We can divide this time by, we can take out a factor of 8 in each case. So this is going to be 8 times 2 over 8 times 10. That's going to give us, the 8's cancel out, so 2 over 10, which is 20 over 100, which is 20%. Now, you may have done this another way, you may have simplified this further. That's completely fine. You may have simplified it to 1 over 5. Lots of different ways of doing this, but making sure you know that we need to get that denominator to be 100. That's the big idea of working out one number as a percentage of another. So what we've been doing is 60 as a percentage of 80, 16 as a percentage of 80. That's what we're working out. So let's look at another example. This time the test is up 1,000 mark test. So if you get 630 out of 1,000, now we want this to be out of 100. So let's rewrite this as 10 times 100. Now, what do you multiply here? We're going to change this slightly. We're actually going to simplify this quite straightforward. We're actually going to just cancel the zeros, and you're going to get 63 over 100, which is 63%. So that was relatively straightforward to simplify. But what happens when you have a slightly harder number? So 355 over 1,000. So here we can be a bit sneaky, and we know that we want this to be out of 100. So we can just divide by 10, and in the top we're going to divide by 10. When we do that, we're going to end up with a decimal. So here we get 35.5 over 100, but we've got something over 100. It's a decimal. You can have decimals in fractions if you're in the working stuff out. So this nicely turns out to be 35.5%, 35.5%. Okay, so let's look at another example here. What's the same and what's different with these two examples here? Okay, so I hope you spotted the same thing is the fact that we start with 40 over 80, the fact that we finish at 50%. The main difference is the fact that this is simplified in two separate steps. And sometimes in these fractions you might need to do different simplifications in order to get your answer. So let's do some examples here of working out a percentage, making denominators 100 to find percentages. So 7 out of 10, so this one's going to be very straightforward. 7 over 10 times 10 times 10, that's going to give us 70 over 100, which is 70%. 28 out of 80. Now, we're going to need to simplify here first. So let's make it a nice factor of 100. 80 is not a factor of 100. So think of numbers that we could simplify this to. Well, factors of 80, we could simplify it to 1. That wouldn't make much sense to do that. Or 2, 8. I'm missing out a lot of factors here. You could just go to 10. You could go to 20. You could go to 40. I think 20 is going to be sensible here. And let's just try that method here. So this is going to be 20 times 4, and on the top we're going to have 7 times 4. So that simplifies down to 7 over 20. And then we can scale it up to 100. So times 5 times 5. So that's going to give you 35 over 100, which is 35%. Okay, now this one's slightly different as well. So 15 over 30. Now 30 doesn't go into 100, so we're not going to go straight to 100 like this. The scale factor is not going to be a nice one. We want whole numbers here, so on the denominator to make it into 100. So let's simplify it first. So we know 15 over 30 is the same as 15 times 1 over 15 times 2. Cancel the 15s, so it's a half, and we know that's going to be 50%. Okay, so now it is your turn to work out these questions. Simplify these the fractions you get until you get your answer. Pause the video, and then I'm going to show you the answers in 3, 2, 1. Here are the answers that you're going to get, including the fractions. They simplify to you. What you want to do is work out the percentage as well. Okay, so this was looking at the non-calculator method of finding one number as a percentage of another. On the next video, we're going to use calculators to work stuff out. See you then.
Do you have a pet? Do you have a sweet tooth? Do you believe in the power of a curse? Have you had your hearing tested lately? Planning a trip soon? Can you remember the tallest man you've ever seen? Do you love to go a-wandering beneath the clear blue sky? Have you noticed what big stars real estate agents have become? Are you careful with your personal records? Does your computer ever seem to have a mind of its own?